yet again, Chewy has sent their supplements to our old apartment, even though every time I change my shipping address to our new house. Anyway, I am going to pick up their supplements, and then I'm heading to the barn, to which I'm going to film what I feed my horses. I posted on Instagram earlier today asking if anybody would want to see it, and I had a lot of people say yes. And I do have quite a few people ask what like supplements 10 is on and what Theo is now on. So that is the plan for this video. I don't want to go because we live down in the top floor apartment, so I have to walk up 3 flights of steps and carry down 120 pounds of Buckeye Grow and Win because I bought 4 bags and then another bag of Buckeye Ultimate Finish. Yep. Anywho, once I get that loaded in the car, I will come back and I will go through a little run through on, I guess, what I've tried, what didn't work, and what now works. So we can go from there. Okay. That was heavy. And now my back hurts. Today is the last day of their Pancur Power Pack. So, worming is a big part of it. So I think it's like every other month or something like that. My trainer who owns the barn, I'll just call her Michelle because that's her name. She's Michelle, so that way you don't get confused. Michelle is my trainer and the owner of the barn. So Michelle worms them, I think it's every other month or every 2 months or something like that, with whatever like the wormer is for that season. So they get wormed regularly by her. But then every year, starting in the spring, whether I do it in March or April, it just kind of depends. Right now, they're on their last day of the Pancur Power Pack. I do that every year in the spring. And I do that because it's like, it kills everything. Like, you go through, like, there's, like, it's like the Arnold Schwarzenegger of wormers. So every year I do that. So it's five tubes that come in a pack. I think it's like 67 or 77 bucks. So it's not cheap. It's pretty expensive, but it's totally worth it. Every year I do this. 5 days straight, 1 tube a day for 5 days. So they are on their last day of it. Making sure your horse is wormed is a big part of gaining weight. It really is. It's a huge part of gaining weight. Because if they have worms, sometimes, a lot of times, that affects their weight gain. Second, and probably one of the most important, as everybody that owns a thoroughbred is in the Thoroughbred Connect group, check for ulcers. Ulcers, if your horse is not gaining weight and you are shoveling food at him, check for ulcers. I have treated 10 2 times now for ulcers in the time that I've had him. I always keep him on a ulcer supplement or a supplement, which I'll go into when we get to the barn. But he's always been on an ulcer supplement. Never in the time that I have owned him has he not been on an ulcer supplement. He is by nature a very anxious horse. So in particular, horses that are anxious are a little bit like ulcers usually are the main cause. So I have treated 10 2 times with GastroGuard for 28 days, and that is, as of right now, the only form of ulcer medication that will treat ulcers. So he has been on that twice now. And it's obviously, if you know how much UlcerGuard or GastroGuard is, it's not cheap. I think it's like $37, $38, $40 a tube, which is insane to me, but it is what it is. So for 28 days, $40 a tube, you can do the math and think about how much that is. Now, I did do the exact same thing, or I'm doing the exact same thing with Theo right now. He still has like 2 weeks of ulcer medicine that, with the travel and the shows and stuff like that, I just went ahead and treated him. It's not worth it for me to get the vet out to scope, to put him under, then be all stressed about that, do the scope, get the results back knowing that 99.9% of horses have ulcers to begin with because of the way that they're domesticated. Unless they're on grass 24/7, no grain, none of that, likely your horse has ulcers. Just be real. The way they deal with the ulcers depends on each horse. Your horse may be 100% fine and you have no idea that they have ulcers. It really just depends. So when I get a new horse, I did the same thing with Wally when I leased Wally. I treated him for ulcers. It just is I budget that into essentially a yearly cost is what I do. I budget that into a yearly cost. So Theo is in the midst of getting treated for ulcers right now, and 10 I treated the last time I treated him. I want to say I treated him middle of last year, and I haven't noticed, like I can pretty much tell immediately when like he's feeling ulcery, but he hasn't been. Actually, no, I lied. I treated him after I used Pro Force Fuel. I switched him to that feed because it was not good. He was high as a freaking kite. I'll insert a clip of one of our lessons. He was just like, you're literally, like I was sitting on him and I was like, I'm gonna die today. Like that's what it felt like. So I didn't realize how much sugar it had in it. It was a recommendation by somebody else from the barn, and he did not do well on it, and I didn't notice it until it was too late. I had him on it for like 2 months. So he came off of that in October, and I have a feeling that caused ulcers, which made him a little crazy. So he came off of that food, got treated for ulcers, and he's much better. So I'll go into the start of 10. So when I got 10 is 17 hands now. When I got him, he was 16.2, almost 16.3 hands. And he was skinny. Like he was maybe 1,000 pounds. Like 1,000 pounds is generous, but they go through that when they come off the track. And so the place that I had him, they were out on grass all day, and which was really, really nice. So he was able to be let down. He had grass to graze on all day. In the summertime, well, I wasn't there in the summertime, but in the summertime, they leave them out pretty much all night, and then they come in during the day, so that way they don't get hot and sun bleached, which is nice that kind of most barns do that. She had him on a mixture of Purina Enrich, alfalfa pellets, and some kind of corn mix or something like that. I don't know. And then I had him on, I can't even remember what the supplements were at the time, but I did put him on Equine Omega Complete, the oil. So he gained a decent amount of weight. He looked good. I'll insert a picture of what you'll see the picture of what he looked like when I first got him, and then what he looked like after about a month or so of us being there. So he started like really slowly gaining weight. I wasn't riding him really during this time. My saddle did not fit him, so I didn't ride him until I had a saddle fitter come out, and that picture was the day like a couple weeks before she came out, because I just was sending pictures of like how his back looked, just so she could get a general idea of what she needed to bring. So he got that, we got that, and then we started riding a little bit and lunging. And then at that point, I realized that I needed to be at a barn that had like lessons, like I could put him in training, because I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. I mean, let's be real. I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. So I moved to a new barn in, I think it was May. I moved to Ridgefield Arena, which is kind of like a show barn in the area that I live in. So I moved him there, and they had switched him to, I want to say it was a mixture of the Buckeye Senior and the Buckeye. It was a couple different mixtures of the Buckeye feeds. And so he got switched to that. He honestly, like, we were only there a month. And the place was great. It wasn't for me. I'm more of like a low-key barn type person. I don't like the big barns and whatnot. Like, I'm just kind of more of a low family atmosphere is kind of where I like not well known, not fancy, not showy. So that's why I ended up leaving there. We also moved at that time, so we weren't even in the same area. So the traveling back and forth, it wasn't right next to my office anymore. So fast forward, I moved out to a barn in Wentzville called Four Arrows Ranch. It was primarily a Western barn, and they also did Buckeye feed. So he ended up getting switched to the Buckeye feed there. I want to say it was shortly after that, because that was in June. Shortly after that, no, just kidding. I actually went back to the feed that he was on at the first place that I had him, like the mixture of the Purina and Rich and all that stuff and whatnot, because I felt like he looked better when he was on that than when he was on the Buckeye feed. So I ended up switching to that. And I was like, piling food on him. And it just wasn't giving me the results that he needed. So he ended up going into training while I was in Germany for 2 weeks with the girl that owns Moon Valley Sport Horses, which I'm now sponsored by. So she does the massages for my horses, which is amazing. Angel is so nice. So if you're local in the area and your horse needs a massage, I think they're only like $65, which is really, really affordable. And it's like a good like 35-40 minute massage for the horse. Like it's really, really good. I've noticed a huge difference between Theo and Ten, like when they're getting their massages. So after, let me rewind, I'm trying to remember. So she recommended that I put him on Triple Crown Senior. So that's what I did. I switched him to Triple Crown Senior, and he was still on the oil, and he was still on just some like other like random supplements, like hoof supplement, ulcer, blah, 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 blah. Because I had him on DAC Cool Gut for a while. And honestly, him with the Triple Crown Senior and all of that, he looked really good. He did. He looked really good. But it was just during this time, like, so we were at the barn, we moved there in June. October is when I found out he had the pole injury. And that's when I treated it. And that's a whole other video that I can go into because that has been a long process. So I want to say in December is when we moved again, and we moved out to Fenton. So that was we had gotten a house under contract that had stalls and a barn and everything, and then that ended up falling through. So we had already sold our house in St. Charles, so we had to find a place to live, so we moved to Fenton. So obviously a 50-minute drive was not ideal. So I ended up moving 10 to a barn in Fenton, where I ended up like feeding in the mornings there and everything for him. So I kept him on the Triple Crown. I ended up putting him on some Smart Packs, and then I ended I tried the Purina Ultium gastric care one. Ended up switching it back to Triple Crown Senior. Fast forward to March, and that is when we moved to Devonwood, which is where we're at now. So we've been there a little over a year now. He had been on Triple Crown Senior and his Smart Pack supplements for quite a long time. And then last summer, I decided to add in the Buckeye Ultimate Finish 100. Made him look amazing. So good. So good. He started filling out. He just needed the extra calories. I ended up switching from the Equine Omega Complete to just plain old corn oil. And I know a lot of people have disagreements with it, but it works for us. And at Costco, you can get a 5-gallon thing of it for like $17 versus 60 or $70 for not even remotely close, for like a gallon or something. So that's what Michelle recommended. So that's what I changed him to, and they've been on that for quite a while. So I switched that up, and then I added the Ultimate Finish 100. So I added that. He started looking really good, and then somebody had recommended that I try that Nutrient Pro Force. That food, I'm not even kidding you, he looked massive. Like, he gained so much weight. His top line was filling out. Like, he built muscle on that food like nobody's business. But he was crazy. Like, absolutely, psychotically, I'm gonna murder you in your sleep crazy. Like, crazy. So we ended up taking him off of it, and I was like, okay, like I'm done bagging the feed. I'm done doing all of this. I'm just gonna put him on my trainer's feed. Whatever. So I ended up switching him to her feed, and he calmed down, and to my belief, or to like my shock, he actually started gaining more weight. So we actually had to back him off of some of his food. Yeah. So once we get to the barn, I'll get into everything that's in there. I will say her like grain mixture, she has all of her thoroughbreds on, it's a mixture of a bunch of different stuff. I mean, there's a little bit of sweet feed in there, there's a little bit of corn in there, there's rice bran. It's just a mixture of a bunch of different stuff that she has custom made. So he gets a mixture of that, but there's not like, you can't like go to a store and buy it, you know. I can, if somebody's very interested in it, I can ask her what she asked for, like when they make it, and I can try and post that on my Instagram or something of like what the feed is. But I don't even know everything that's in it. It's just her custom feed that she goes through the feed store with, that makes it, packages it, delivers it. So he is partially on that, and then he is on another one of her grains that she gets for the thoroughbreds as well. 10 has been on the Buckeye Grow and Win for quite a while. Like, that's something that stayed consistent. He's been on the Grow and Win for a long time, and I don't think I'll ever take him off of it, just because he really likes it. Adds protein, helps their top line. And again, I just want to preface, my horses in work, I would say at least a maximum of 5 days a week, but a minimum of 3 days a week. So it's anywhere between 3 to 5 days a week. While we are working, I don't normally ride for more than 30 minutes. Typically my lessons, depending on how they go, are anywhere between 15 to 30 minutes. But horse training is not a hammer it in. Like, if, say you're working on leg yields and they do it for a couple steps and they do, like, they get it, and then you ask them for it again and they do it, stop and get off the horse and go put them away. That is so much more effective than like hammering it into them, keeping and doing these things over and over and over and over. When they give it to you once or twice, when it's something new that you're teaching them, stop, get off, and put the horse away. They will learn so much better because it's more of a form of positive reinforcement. Like, okay, you're doing the pressure, they give away from the pressure. Oh, that was what she wanted, and now she gets off and we're done. Cool, that sounds good. And again, this may not work for every single horse, but that's my trainer's philosophy, my philosophy now, and I feel like the results of 10 have proven that works. We are lucky enough to have a gallop track, or a conditioning track, which has pretty steep hills. So a few times a week, I will walk the track with 10 and just let him walk up and down the hills. That has helped tremendously in building top line, but it is not just nutrition. You have to be working them properly. You can't be yanking their head in with draw reins and forcing them into a frame and being like, oh yes, we're working on building top line. This is going to build top line. No, that's just going to destroy your horse. Sorry, I said it. I lunge in side reins. You develop a stretch. If you're interested in top line building exercises or learning how to develop the stretch, I recommend going to the Facebook group called Art to Ride, ART2, the number 2, Ride. It is all about classical dressage training, the fundamentals of classical dressage. It's not about fancy leg movement. It's about them lifting their back and going forward and stretching down to separate their spine and their vertebrae. That is what builds top line. And that is what doesn't destroy your horse, because really horses are not meant to be ridden. They really aren't. I mean, it's totally a thing that humans have done, and their backs are not meant to support that. I feel like I'm going off on way of a tangent, but it all comes together because you have to have enough of the food and the protein and the right amount of nutritional correctness along with riding properly to be able to build top line. Some exercises you can do to build top line. I have and still use every once in a while. I don't need to do it with 10 anymore because he understands and knows the stretch. I've used a neck stretcher, or a chambron is what they call it. It's basically a piece of elastic that goes up over the top of their pole, through the bit, and connects down to the bottom underneath the girth in between the front legs. And it's stretchy so they can still lift their head up. It just helps them understand the stretch and kind of helps reinforce it to come down. And if you try and use it and your horse is just automatically going negative, don't use it again. I mean, you don't want them to think that like that is what they are supposed to do. So I've used that. I personally just really like side reins. Side reins are the number one tool that I use. I do not use draw reins. I do not use a German martingale. I don't use sliders. I don't use any of that stuff. I use side reins and occasionally a neck stretcher. But lunging them over trap poles, just lunging in general, and trotting while you're lunging them, but making sure they're going forward and not like a, oh my God, I'm crazy, I'm trotting like a freaking Arabian forward, but forward, back lifted, stretch engaged, their abdominal muscles engaged. That is what's going to build your top line. Stretches you can do beforehand, after, in between, doesn't matter. They're just good stretches to do. Are the carrot stretches, the back lifts where you kind of just poke underneath their belly right where the girth goes to get them to lift up. That engages their core, which also helps warm up those muscles and get engaged for before you ride them or after. It doesn't matter. You can do either of them, or you can do both. The pelvic tucks, where you run your thumbs down the like side of their, or the back of their butt, to get them to tuck their butt in and lift their pelvis up. Those are good ones as well. I should probably just do a video on all the stretches that I do before and after my rides. But anyway, all of that coupled with the fact that they need to be fed properly is, I'll just create a series, like a top line building series, like stretches, exercises while riding, exercises while lunging, and this will be the first one of it because nutrition is the first thing that you need. But yeah, I am almost to the barn, so end of rant. Here is the introduction to the series, starting with what I feed my horses. I will see you guys in a second. Okay, this is their buckets prepared. This is Ten's, this is Theo's. This is the grain. It is a mixture of all of that stuff. I don't know what's in it. And then this is Tizwiz. So she basically, the way she does this, it's about half and half. She'll like scoop, and then they get most of the Tizwiz, and they get this. So that is the grain, and that is her grain. So that is the mixture there. So they basically get a scoop of that. Then 10 and Theo both get a cup of this, which is, it's just like a Buckeye scoop thing, and they get a full scoop of this. This is a pound, so they get that, which I provide, and that is the Buckeye Grow and Win. This is the Mazola corn oil. Sorry, it's 2.75 gallons, not a 5-gallon thing. But I get this, and then they get a little bit of that. They were on this, but I didn't really see a whole lot of difference with it, so I'm taking it off of it because this is $237 for one thing. And then this is the Buckeye Ultimate Finish. It is a fat supplement, and they get 2 scoops of that a day. So that, and then the only other thing they are on is the Platinum Performance CJ. They get 1 scoop of this in the morning and 1 scoop of this at night. And I can put a line. So yeah, that's what they get. So these are their little itty bitty buckets, and then they get that, and then the oil, and that's it. So this is a little clip of Theo now. As you can see, he still needs some weight to gain, but it is a slow process. I did do the same thing with Theo, or with 10, but I guess I didn't actually get the video. So here are some clips, photos of 10. This is what he currently looks like, and I'm going to show before and after of Theo, which is right now. Top picture is when I first got him, bottom picture is now, and then this one's before and after 10. Alright, we're back in the car. And that is what my horses eat. They eat 1 scoop of that like mixture between Tizwiz and the custom grain my trainer gets, and they get they get 2 scoops a day of the Platinum Performance and 2 scoops of the Buckeye Ultimate Finish. And then they also get that 1 scoop of the Buckeye Grow and Win. And that completes their daily feed. I did order a different supplement that I am going to try. And I can let you guys know how that goes. It's from, I think it's from NUPA Feed, N-U-P-A Feed. It's more like a, I don't want to say like a calming supplement, but I guess it is kind of like a calming supplement. It's magnesium and it's an oil. So I thought that might be a good thing to try because 10 can get really, really anxious. And for Theo, just to try, I mean, he doesn't need a calming supplement. He's not like psycho by any means. I don't have to lunge, no prep, no nothing before shows. But he can get anxious, like standing at the entrance gate and like getting on and off the trailer. So I thought that might be something to try, just to put him on to see if that kind of helps with some of his anxiety. We'll see. But yeah, I will let you know how that goes. But it's pretty simple what they're on. I mean, I think it's pretty simple. It's not much. Protein, fat, calories, and a ration balancer, and that's it. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Sorry it wasn't super exciting, but I had some